So there will be a presentation by Teresa Zagroska about financial instruments for social enterprises. Then it will be followed by the presentation on provision of advisory services by Elena from the SEED Hub. Then Irina is going to take floor and share with you inspiring examples of social enterprises. And finally, we have Katerina Vasilevska from Struga. She works in LDA, Local Development Agency of Struga, and she will share her experience as a social entrepreneur about genuine experiences. That's the project that they run. And just a small rule, after each presentation, you have chance to ask several questions. And then at the end of the workshop, we will have a discussion if you had not a chance to ask a question after the presentation. So hello, everyone, once again. And I just wanted to invite Teresa to start the presentation. Thanks. See you.
Only Teresa would like to know generally who are participants of this workshop. So they are representatives of regional support centers, which were selected within our project. And they are foundations supported small medium enterprises, but also centers for regional planning and SEED. So we have 4 centers for regional planning, 3 agencies to support of small medium enterprises selected as a social enterprise, which was selected. And then we have also some guests who represent civic society organizations, social enterprises. They are operating in different fields, and they will ask you questions probably. So because it would be probably not enough time that each of them present themselves separately. So maybe we can start like this, that you know in general who are participants.
Okay, so I'll say a few words about myself. I come from rather NGO sector, I would say, because I started like 30 years ago working in the Soros Foundation in Warsaw. Then I worked for a couple of Warsaw NGO organizations, and I was on the management board. And then I moved to Eptisa. This is the company, a privately owned company by the French bank, Crédit Coopératif. And within Eptisa, we served as an intermediary for Polish markets and then also European markets, granting loans to social enterprises. And now I got back to an NGO, to a big Warsaw Foundation, which takes care of children who survive violence. So I have different experience from different sides. I was working also on accountancy a little bit, but basically I worked on finance management. I don't know whether you have this attitude here. Do you use chat? Because you may also ask some questions on chat, and then I will ask them, or I use them during my presentation if I manage to switch eyes in both sides. And basically, I'm glad to be here. I feel a little bit like I was invited to your houses. So this is the strange opportunity in this strange time, but it's very nice. So I'm starting my presentations, which is, oh, sorry, this is the end. I have to share the screen and just tell me whether you see that. Sure. Yes. Now it should be okay. It's okay. What is TISA. Okay, TISA, this is the financial institution. This is the financial institution, not a bank. This is very important. But they started also 30 years ago, like granting venture capital to companies, and only 12 years ago they started to grant loans to NGO sector. But today I would say this is the key institution, financial institution, which distributes loans, finance from the government as well. Okay, so unfortunately, when I'm showing the presentation, I cannot see the chat. So I will probably ask the chats afterwards.
Yeah, but it's okay, Teresa, sorry to interrupt, but let's follow the, general agreement that people will ask you questions after the end of your presentation. That will be like easy, if you agree.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
So when we talk about financial instruments for social enterprises, we talk about the same instruments as for all other companies. The issue is that social enterprise, this is really a special, I would say, animal in the world of financial instruments or finances, because people who who are responsible for social enterprises, they are basically they're social issues oriented, and the economy serves them as a tool to deliver social results. And this is very important variance between social enterprise and commercial enterprise, because social enterprise has to learn financial instruments. This is not their typical environment. When a new startup, when we have a new startup in business, they basically know that they need some initial capital, and they need the capital to continue. The overdraft capital. But then when the social enterprise starts, they don't think about getting capital for activity which they can borrow from someone. They think basically that they have to collect as much capital as it is possible, and then only they can start a new company. This is my experience working with social enterprises in Poland. So giving them loans, it was actually the huge process of education. What is a loan? Where, in what circumstances it is risky, and when it is useful for a social enterprise. The most typical and common used instrument for social enterprises, these are grants. And then we have loans, which we started only 8 years ago in Poland. We have guarantee, which is very important instrument, because it enables actually the financial institution to mitigate the financial risk of supporting social enterprise. On the top of this pyramid, we have social venture capital, which is actually for very well organized and functioning social enterprises. And I put also some additional, maybe not exactly financial instruments, but this is sort of as a social franchise. I will tell you a few words about that at the end. And social impact bonds. Just one sentence. In Poland, we, using the EU funds, we created the model of accelerator for social impact bonds, which are based on the payment for results. This is very useful mechanism also when we talk about social issues. So, but it was not implemented in Poland. The project stopped on the level of modeling this accelerator, and we didn't enter the second phase because of the pandemia. Why it doesn't go down? As for grants, I think that Basia already told you a lot about granting system in Poland. It's quite developed, I would say, mainly due to ESF funds. And we had special grants for creating job placement. We have grants for local communities. This is very important partner for small organizations in the regions of Poland. We have also the fund for people with disabilities. We have the government money, which are distributed for different issues. But grants are okay for particular issues, but not for development of social enterprises, except this some initial grants or supporting job placement, which is also very important. Loans. Basically, the Polish government was the one who implemented this pilot project in 2013. And the government was thinking about implementing preferential loans for social sector because using EU funds starting 2004, the grants were already in big amounts implemented in Poland. And it was the time when they thought that social enterprise, in order to develop, to create more working places and to build their sustainability, they should use loans for some investments. They should learn to use loans in their running business. So the project was started in 2013 from the big tender, public tender for financial intermediaries. Actually, it was the pyramid, the structure was that the ministry has chosen the main administrator of these EU funds. This is the National Bank of Economy, BGK, Bank Gospodarstwa Krajowego, and they announced the tender for intermediaries, and intermediaries took place in the tender. Eptisa won all 5 projects for granting loans to social enterprises. And it was separately only for those enterprises who run business activity. They were microloans up to 25,000 euro for the 60 months period, which is quite long. It was okay, the period. And as you see, the interest rate was very low. I would give you the example because today maybe in every country this interest rate like 1% is okay. But in 2013, private loans of Eptisa given to social enterprises were on the level of 9.5%. So comparing to that, these loans were really, really very good. There was no administration fee, and which is absolutely crucial for the success, I would say, of this project, that we could give free of charge 30 hours of consultancy to our borrowers. I have to say that we were, I would use, chasing for borrowers. It was really all the time looking for social enterprises who might be interested in getting a loan. That market was really clear. I mean, there were not too many interested with a particular idea of getting investment for a particular project. I would say that we, as employees of Eptisa, we were sometimes drawing the business plans, the spreadsheets of income states and costs together with those social entrepreneurs. So it was really a pilot who showed us that there is the need for bigger loans to social enterprises. What is also important that that pilot project, before the pilot project was done, the government made so-called ex-ante analysis of the market of social enterprises. And then they estimated what is the need in total for the loans for social enterprises. So they were sending questionnaires and asking different social enterprises in Poland, asking them about the investments, whether they do the investment, whether they would use a loan. So the loan was on the bottom of the different instruments that social enterprises were ready to use. Rather, they answered they would wait until they earn enough money to make the investments. So on the basis of this ex-ante analysis, the government implemented this pilot project, which was really a good one. We were supposed to deliver about 6 million euro and finalized with 9 million euro because the money was paid back by social enterprises and we could loan them again. So it was very important project for social enterprise. Then, since the pilot was of a success, we had a further program within the new EU funds. And here we had bigger loans up to 250,000 euro for longer periods. In the meantime, the interest rates were lower. And again, here there was no administration fee. But here there was no consultancy granted to our borrowers, but it was written in the agreement between Eptisa and BGK, that national bank, that the intermediary had to deliver consultancy to our borrowers. So actually it was on every phases of the application procedure that we were in constant contact with the social enterprises. So the total numbers, as you see, through this 7 years, Eptisa gave about 25 million euro to social enterprises, and about 1,000 of them received different loans. And which was important because in the second part, job placement was an indicator which decreased the interest rate. So it was if someone created a job place, so he could get lower interest rate. And this program is continued. I don't work in Eptisa at the moment, but I know that they still give loans within this POWER EU program. We call it POWER program. Who are our borrowers? For example, social cooperative, Dalba from north of Poland, from Gdańsk. I will talk about them because then they took part in franchise, social franchise program. Or the foundation Elephants on the Balkon, Słonie na Balkonie. They supported children who left hospitals, psychological hospitals, and they were supported by them. And today, after Pandemia, this is really a critical issue for children and their parents, because many of them suffer with this psychological problems. Or the association who created with grants, built the building in which they organized the elderly people care house. So it was very interesting initiative because the association bought for 1% of the total value the land with some destroyed building from the local community. Then they get a grant. It was trans-border grant for renovation and equipment. They had to add 15% of own contribution. So they took loan from Eptisa for this own contribution and to prepare this place for elderly people. And then also they run economic activity, like in terms of catering, gastronomy, and they employed people from disability, with mental disability, to take care of those elderly people, because they noticed that these two groups, elderly people and people with mental disability, they need very much personal contact with other people. So it was very good idea because they doubled the social impact in the finally social enterprise. But they started from the very good cooperation with local community, which sold them the land for just 1% of the value of this land. Additional loan for Pandemia, it was a special liquidity loan with very good parameters, and which was very important, with partial capital remission. It was first time that the loan, the project of the loan would enable the intermediary to reduce the final capital to be paid back. It was conditioned by the number of job placements sustained for 12 months, which was very important in the pandemic, and still is in the pandemic period, for those enterprises to keep them going and to enable them to keep the employment, the staff they have. Basically, the organization, the social enterprise who employ people like homeless people or people with disability, they feel additional responsibility for those people. So I know many of them who survived very difficult time of pandemia. Now it's opening in Poland. Due to some support like this loan, like the government support, but also basically due to their personal engagement and responsibility, and looking for additional services they can deliver during this COVID time. As you see, the interest rate here is very, very low, but this is also due to the decrease of interest rates by National Bank of Poland. And the guarantee, easy guarantee, Eptisa, again, as I told you, this is the key player on the loan market for social enterprises now in Poland. And they got this code of conduct required by the EASY program. So Eptisa applied for EASY guarantee, and the program was based on the private capital of Eptisa, up to 8 million euro, which was granted in loans for social enterprises in Poland and some European countries. We gave a few loans in Slovakia and one in Hungarian. So here the interest rate is much higher. As you see, this is 7% comparing to 1% or below 1 for preferential loans. But here there is this collateral, this guarantee, easy guarantee, which was up to 50% of capital. So actually, it was the additional availability for social enterprise to receive a loan from Eptisa. Without that guarantee, Eptisa, with its risk assessment, wouldn't be able to grant a loan to those enterprises. So very important instrument, I would say, because it mitigates the risk on the side of financial institution, and that's why it's make the loans available for social enterprises. I know that Erste Bank also have this easy guarantee. I don't know how it goes right now in Macedonia, but it's worth observing and encouraging banks to apply for this easy guarantee for social enterprises. And something that is not yet finished, but we are at the final phase of first social franchise in Poland. And it is done. There are 3 projects at the moment. I took part in one of them with Dalba Social Cooperative, which is the previous borrower of Eptisa loans. And they became a franchisor for 4 new social enterprises in Poland, in 4 different cities of Poland, which created 4 pubs employing people with mental and mental disability or with physical or psychological disease. So this is first time that we had to create the model of social business, and which is important. You know, running the pub, this is a simple business model, right? You have the good beer, and it's important that they have craft beer, which is produced by the Dalba Social Cooperative. And they also employ people in their brewery company. So building 4 other pubs makes the increase for the production of beer, which means they will probably able to employ further people with disabilities. And this is the main idea here, to employ people with disabilities or psychological disease in social enterprise, not like cleaning, like, just simple stuff doing, but people who are on the first place with customers. And it really goes very well right now. And in the franchise agreement, they have the condition that one of the conditions is to sustain the 80% of employment from people with disabilities and psychological disease. So thanks to that, we have now 20 new job placements. And you can say this is very small, but this is just the beginning. And look at the process. Those new social enterprises, they received grants from the support centers for social enterprises to create this infrastructure. They took loans to create the infrastructure. They took the model, business model, and the model of work with people with disabilities from the franchisor. So in this one structure, they used a couple of financial instruments, and without them, this project wouldn't be able to be implemented. And in the end, social venture capital, the total budget is less than 3 million euro, but this is really for very well developed. We would say that this is for those social enterprises who would like to increase their business capacity, which means they are ready to be multiplied or to make other companies or to develop their own business. But it's very difficult to find proper candidates for that. Really, since although in Poland we have 30 years of, over 30 years of NGO sector and let's say 15 years of social entrepreneurship, but we are not enough developed yet to go for this instrument. And at the end, some very, very general observations. So first of all, it's social entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs have very, comparing to business entrepreneurs, have very low economical and financial literacy. They really need to be explained what is financial statement, what is balance sheet, what is profit and loss account, what is profit, what it means profit comparing to the money they have on the account. They are not used to use the financial tools to monitor the situation. But if they are supported, if they take a part in traineeship, they learn to use that and they really are happy to use them. But they need to be supported in building business plan, in monitoring, sometimes also in facilitating the relations between local community or between with other commercial partners. But I think that the pandemia time showed this very, very much, that this is the kind of entity that due its social objectives and social responsibility for people who they employ is really very, let's say, flexible to adopt to the circumstances which are around us. Just one example, PUB, which made the investments last summer. Already the Pandemia was on board, let's say, and they opened the PUB within this franchise system just end of August, and they were closed from end of October till right now, till end of May. So let's say that 7 months they had to survive somehow, and they did. They didn't decrease the number of employees. They delivered food to elderly people. They took part in packing lunches for some people. So, and the owners of this company, it was a non-profit company, they told me that they feel really responsible for those people whom they employed, because they also saw how they react in that business, and that they found their place for themselves, and they developed as human beings. So now they could open the small garden, and they invest in additional bistro with some food. So they are developing their social enterprise, although they are in very difficult financial situation. So I think that this is special entity, but with many, many opportunities to be developed. And the role of such a financial institution is basically advising. Sometimes we have to switch our place to evaluate the project and to assess the risk. And it is very important, because we also should tell the social enterprise, do not take the loan for this project, because this is too risky for you, and it means too risky for us as a loan giver. And then when the loan is given, again, we have to switch on the place of our customer and to support him in every difficult situation, looking always for possible solutions. This is not only the banking procedure which we have to execute, like debt collecting. That's right, we have to collect the debt, but if we kill the social enterprise, we will not collect the debt. So we have to keep an eye on the both sides. Okay, I think I took maybe a little bit too more time, but
thanks, Teresa. Can you stop the presentation, like
sure.
share screen? Okay, great. So, guys, Dechki, what do you think? Who is going to brew the first social beer in Macedonia, or maybe social wine in Macedonia, or social rakia Grozdova? Well, anyway, we have time for 2 questions. Raise your hand. Dimitar, what about yourself?
Well, I listened to the presentation. It was good, but I would disagree in a small part about the last thing. I mean, if you run an enterprise, you have to take risks and provide investments. I mean, for the company, that is unavoidable, and the management of the social business would often have to make choices of that kind.
Yeah.
Whether to take a loan or not, whether this is too risky, etc., etc. And it is up to their judgment, and they have to live with the consequences.
Yes, yes. But, you know, I mean, social enterprise, you have to make tough choices every day. I mean, otherwise you cannot survive. The competition is too high. Nebi, do you have a question to Teresa?
But can I answer?
Yes. Yeah, sure. Go, Teresa. Yeah.
Of course, Dimitar. We are not talking about taking the whole risk from the social enterprise. They always take risk, and they take much, much more risk that we even can imagine. If you employ people with disabilities, with psychological disease, the main risk is how their employees will behave. And they take risk of communications with customers. They have also financial risk, because they have some subsidies to the remuneration of those people from the government. but still they have to generate surplus to cover all costs or to invest. I'm not talking about such communication. We discussing with them, we always wanted to know whether they are aware of the risk. Just small example, all, I would say 99% of the forecast of income, we decreased by 5, and we took 4 parts. 20% was out, and sometimes 50%, because this was rather discussion with them and showing them additional risks if they see everything and if they are convinced enough and if they are engaged enough to go into that kind of business. This is rather this kind of conversation, not talking to them, don't take alone. But we, with some experience of other companies, social enterprises, and with some particular cases, what happened in real life, we just share this experience with them. And if one person company would like to make a gastronomy, we say, look, guy, it's not enough to be one person. You have to be at least 2-3 people who are engaged. What would happen if you are ill? The business goes off. In these terms, the risk mitigation.
Okay. Well, thanks, Teresa, for explanation. Well, we are slightly behind the schedule. If you do not mind, please keep your questions to Teresa for the end of the workshop today. And I would like to invite to talk Elena and Georgi from Seed Hub, the last Mohicans of social entrepreneurship in North Macedonia. I mean, I don't know if you have read the book, but please remember, these are the people who have been part of the movement, and every year we try to school local NGOs to become better and become more entrepreneurial. So Elena is going to share some advices on, how regional support centers can work with local NGOs, private individuals, for-profit companies, and make them social entrepreneurs. Please.
Hi, everyone. It's nice being here, and it's nice starting to work on this, actually. And thank you, Teresa, first of all, for sharing this valuable information. I would just like to add a few comments. Actually, for us, is a dream to have such a budget for social enterprises. And as you were speaking, I thought that if we have this 125 million in 10 years, I guess we would have solved all the social problems within the country, because we're so small, and we still have problems to access finance for social enterprises. But yeah, we are struggling now for a better tomorrow. Let's put it this way. Okay, now I have a small presentation. Just tell me how much time do I have now?
Elena, half an hour would be optimal, but I know you like to talk, so it's okay.
So I didn't hear quite how.
Half an hour would be optimal.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
But you can talk a bit more, like.
Yeah. Okay. I will try to summarize the experience and knowledge for a couple years now. And actually, within these presentations, I wanted to use two kind of pillars, two segments. The first segment is about the mentality of social enterprises and social entrepreneurs, and the difference between social enterprises and traditional ones. And the second part would be the provision of local services to social enterprises, taking in consideration our organization. So The first slide is I wanted to share with you because now I'm maybe putting in some motivational issues here, things here, but for me this was the very important sentence that I've heard many years ago, and that is that there are millions ways to do something, and absolutely everything can be improved, having in mind not to be stopped on the first burden that you have. It happened to be that I know personally this guy, Juan Carlos Morales, and actually his character and his charisma and motivation made him to be successful businessman and successful entrepreneur in the US, coming from Cuba. And the life story makes him to do various things and actually end up with this, summarizing this sentence. And another one I want to share with you is from Herb Keller, founder of Southwest Airlines, and he said, we have a strategic plan, and that is called doing things. It means that we should start now. We should try, we should test how it goes. We should start to provide services, starting from a small step and then enlarging and expanding the prospect. But starting is very, very, very important as soon as possible. Okay, short introduction about me. For now, more or less, you all know me. I come from SID Macedonia. That is a kind of umbrella organization with the 3 sectors. We run the business club. We have also SID Foundation, and we run SID Hub Skopje. Within all these 3 sectors, we provide business support to traditional enterprises, regardless of their stage of development and number of employees. We implement entrepreneurship projects, and we provide services and develop startups. I'll talk a little bit more later. At the beginning, I want to share a couple of key terms and definitions. It happens to be that when we start to talk about social entrepreneurship and social businesses and impact, etc., we are noticing that not everybody knows what we are talking about, in terms of we are not speaking the same language. So we usually want to say a couple of words about what is an entrepreneur, what is a social entrepreneur. I have a slide a little later, that's why I will skip this explanation at the moment. So, but you will hear mission-driven entrepreneurs. Mission-driven entrepreneur is social entrepreneur, more or less. Venture philanthropy business is a business that is based on mission within its core. So, inevitably, the next question that usually arises is, do social entrepreneurs do business? And the answer is yes, because they need to run a business, and they need to run successful business in order to provide their community with the support and help they need. About stages in investing in social businesses, I have one slide later, little bit later, but again, Teresa was talking about various schemes of financing social businesses. I will need to say that we need to work a little bit harder to get to there and to get to that possibility. Easy is a great example that I think we need to follow in order Eptisa, in order to unlock easy guarantees, etc. But I would like to underline one thing here, is that the problem is maybe not to get to the finance that much. When you get to the investments needed, then when the social enterprises receives the money, then the problems start. I think. And here is the biggest support that needs to be done, as Teresa mentioned, the financial institutional role in their case. So that is, I'll get back to the stages in investing in social business. Does the social enterprise making a profit? Of course, it's a business and then needs to turn to the community. Is there a social business without an openness to innovation? I would say any business that wants to, any startup, any business that wants to develop and wants to create surplus needs to be open to innovation. We are doing design thinking that is, in some sense, innovation program. And whoever entered the cycle of innovation is much ahead of the competition. Needs of social enterprises, you will hear that a lot. Social enterprises are actually substituting the state services in various fields of social support. And therefore, the needs of social enterprises is arising as is enlarging as the state is not capable to cover all these gaps. Difference between social business and regular business, I'll talk to you later. And then we have social incubator, social accelerator. These types of support are organizations like ours that provide mentoring, provide counseling, provide networking, provide access to traditional companies, access to markets, development of business plans, etc., etc. So whenever you hear incubator or accelerator or social business that have been through some of the acceleration programs, it is considered that they have at least some basic knowledge on how to develop their businesses. Business model, it is regardless whether it is social or traditional enterprise, their business model needs to be working. In order to be working, it needs to be tested. So we need to make sure that their business model is working, and we need to find ways to test it and to prove it successful. And social business model differs in the target group and the beneficiaries they involve. So traditional businesses are made to meet the needs or solve the problems of their customers, while the business model is addressing needs and problems of specific target group that the organization has. Regarding the differences, now I'm entering now a little bit more to in order to make a difference of what we are talking about now. So here we have, okay, this is not exclusive list, there are more, but in order for you to have some point of what we're talking about. So the difference between social enterprises and regular enterprises in a couple of criteria. So the goal of social enterprises is social change, while the regular enterprises is profits. That's the main difference. We know that. So the profit from the regular enterprises goes to the investors and stakeholders, while the social enterprises return it to the community or donate for social purposes. So realization of their social mission. What is success? Success for the regular enterprises is profitability, achieving financial and business goals. Within the KPIs, you can see also the difference, but now I'm not going to talk about KPIs today. So the profitability and business goals, while the social enterprise is have to balancing between sustainable profits and social impact. That is double role that they are playing. That's why it's double hard for the social enterprises to compete on a market, and therefore we need legislation, etc., etc. Regarding the mentality of regular enterprise leaders is looking for business opportunities that will generate profit and that will return to investors, while the mentality of social enterprises founders and leaders is the value of organization, the values that they deliver and the support that they deliver. And there are many other, as I mentioned, criteria. Marketing is one of them. For example, the marketing in regular enterprises depends on the budget, size, marketing channels, etc. While the social enterprises usually start with word of mouth, organic social media, etc., until they get to their first investment. And as soon as they do, they are trying to use more traditional channels. Regarding the entrepreneur, it is worth mentioning that its main goal is to meet the needs. The traditional entrepreneur, its main goal is to meet the needs of customers, provide profit to the owners, growth and expansion of the business. That is its goal. While the social entrepreneur is striving to meet the needs of the community and create sustainable change in the society. So when somebody tell you that he's a social entrepreneur, in order to recognize as a person, you can only speak about the goal. Ask him about the goal, and you will see who are you dealing with. Traditional entrepreneur, when starting a business, they try to discover the needs of the customer and then make a product or design services that will meet those needs. While the social entrepreneur, when they start a social business, they are usually motivated by some personal experience in injustice, inequality, and humanity. That is usually the case. When you feel it and you're empathic enough, then and you are trying and you're starting a business in order to solve that situation, then you have this mentality of social entrepreneur. On the other hand, traditional entrepreneurs are related to their product service, but it is mainly as a result of earnings, profits, and meeting the needs of customers. So the traditional entrepreneur, when you ask him about the success, let's say, he starts to talk about his customers. He's deeply related to his customers. And everything he does in the business is adapting to the needs of the customers. While on the other hand, social entrepreneur create teams of people, they exchange, they share the same values, they share the social mission, they pass on values, they pass on the motivation, the passion, and that is the core differences between these kind of entrepreneurs. I hope this is just just a short blink of what the difference usually is. But having in mind that you will deal with these social entrepreneurs, I thought that it is important that you know them as personality. Again, regarding social entrepreneur, there are three most important contexts, as we usually say. The social mission context is, as I mentioned, mission-oriented rather than profit. So you have the clear mission in front of the organization and everybody involved. So their values are equally shared among everyone involved. Then there is this innovative context, innovative approach to doing business. We know that we live in very turbulent times right now, and more than ever, we need innovation. The past has proven that those who are open-minded, those who are inventive and always develop new things in solving problems are, as I said, ahead of others. And for the social enterprises, having in mind their double role in operating sustainable business, they need to be double innovative, if I may say that. So innovative approach to doing business is crucial. And market-oriented context is giving us sustainable social impact, keeping in mind that none of this will exist and none of this will happen if we don't have a market. So these three we are underlying when we are talking and dealing with social businesses. The next slide is regarding the stages of investing. Okay, Teresa was speaking about this type of investment, etc. And about stages of investment, there is no strict rule, but there are some general rules. And the main difference between investing in traditional businesses and in social business is that social businesses need more support at the beginning of their journey. In terms of providing managerial skills to the founders, providing support in financial management, HR management, operational management, sales, etc., etc. So this initial stage is crucial that they are following all the steps. So the phase one will be social impact. So this is the role of incubators, accelerators, projects such as this one, etc. The second phase is prototyping, test for customers, and prove that we have customers. In this stage, usually some private investors, business angels, small early investors in equity shares, maybe are companies, etc., are usually involved. But again, this is very different from Macedonia and especially EU countries where the volume, the tickets are larger. Now we are talking very small sums here. But nevertheless, the second phase of the development proves that the business model proves that there are customers. Somebody is buying our product or service, like the Volkswagen with uniforms in Poland. So somebody is in need of our service. We do have market. And when we prove that we have market, when they prove, the social enterprises, that they have market, now we are using all of our tools to support the development of organization and to survive that risk and critical stage of early growth, early adopters, first customers, etc. So that when we enter the third phase, then we can really strive for new markets and new targets. So growth to cover costs is characteristic of this third phase. And now here we the enterprises are open to investor association, couple of them, etc., etc. It depends on the financial instruments available in the country. And the fourth phase is growth and profitability. So in this phase, the enterprise is starting to work with profit. So it has surplus to give it back to the community. And here we have social investments funds and larger investors who might be involved in the stages. I need to say that these are, just very rough stages that I'm explaining now. Of course, business angels can involved in very early stage. On the other hand, social investments funds for couple of for the countries where with very little developed ecosystem of social enterprises, etc., can involve in a little bit early stage. So it depends from case to case. But this is the usual frame of the phase of development. What our goal as a centers, as the regional centers, and as the main center in Skopje, is to go through these stages as fast as possible. So to exhaust all the possible tools that are in our possession, that we go from the phase 1 to phase 4. I know it's not easy, and the traditional companies are striving as well, but we need to recruit all that we have, all the resources that we have in order to get to phase 4 as soon as possible. Okay, there are some certain criteria for identification of social enterprises. This slide would not have been necessary if we had law or any kind of legislation that will do that for us. And of course, this is not exclusive list, but more or less you can see that social enterprises are having this couple of criteria. So focused results, positive effect on specific group of people, environment, or society. They are innovative, I mentioned that. Evidence-based, this is something that is different from the traditional companies, having in mind that social enterprises usually are giving their reports to the community, to the donors, so they need to take very good care of measuring indicators and impact. Measuring and management of impact is a different field that it is good that you at some point are familiar with, but on this side, from the donors and the loan givers and investors, etc., they need to have evidence that the organization and the enterprise is working as it should work. It is going in. It is realizing its goals. It is going in the direction it should go, etc. That is why the evidence-based business is very important. Inclusive, of course, it is in the core of the mission of social enterprises. They need to include all the stakeholders. It is important to include both local self-government, central, different stakeholders from positive and negative aspects, etc., etc., and scalability to be transferred to new local, regional, and global markets. It is not something that is inevitable, but it is recommendable to create products or services that can be used by larger group of people that need them. So this scalability is twofold. Scalability of services, of products and services by the social enterprise to their commercial market and commercial target, but both services to the beneficiaries of their social enterprises. So it, as I said a couple of times, it is double goal in here. This is about the needs. So when we consider helping social enterprises, we need to have in mind what is their need. First, the need is not very different from the traditional one, but added with the needs realizing the social mission. So the first need is the team. Nobody can be one-man show. It needs to be clear. And whenever there is social enterprise with one person, the risk of getting to sustainability is exceptional. It's very, very high. So there must be team of people. It's not very different from the ordinary ones. So team of people with the same values, with the same characteristics, mentality, etc. Then challenge to be tested. Of course, they are working on a challenge, and it needs to be tested, and it needs to be proved that it works. Social enterprises have potential and real customers. So in business model, we can put our wish list, but then we need to prove it in the real life. Then that really the enterprises have the real customers that wants to buy their product services. And we need to help them in order to recognize their customers, to help them maybe not do the proper market research in very early stage, keeping in mind that it's an expensive activity, but then we need to help them in to look for the right resources when they see the potential market. Then what we are doing now is advice support for the basics. I mean, as seed with social enterprises. We need to provide them with every possible knowledge they need to transfer know-how, etc., etc. To give them strategic advice, having in mind that it is very difficult to create short-term, but even more difficult long-term strategy for the company. So we are going step by step, and this strategic path to the company need to be given at the beginning, so they know where they heading. they need money. Whenever it's possible, provide them with some funds. Hopefully the project, the grants will work as soon as possible. So we start targeting those grants and adapting our business models and the needs of the companies to the requirements of those grants. A place where they will work, of course, a physical space when they will gather, exchange, and create the future steps, and emotional support and mentoring, because from my experience working with social entrepreneurs is, this curve going up and down in their motivation and willingness to go further and further.
Elena,
Yes.
може ли, бидејќи сепак е теорија,
Because this is rather theoretical,
нешто практично, кога
could you share something more practical
стратегијата за советите,
about the strategy, the advices?
да не само слушам, него од вашето секојдневно работење
From your day-to-day work, something practical.
Што беше, како беше ситуацијата, така.
What has been the situation?
Elena,
I
you
apologize.
can continue in Macedonian. We have English translation, so it's okay.
Okay, no problem. Maybe само вака, ми се прекина малку.
So, I don't know, I had problems hearing you, but I'm guessing you're asking about specific steps we use for the social enterprises. Am I right? Was this your question? I asked you to be more practical. You tell us specifically from practical aspects. You don't have to cover all the items you have on your presentation, but share your practical approach, how you've dealt with all these issues. Thank you for this question. It's great. This is diverse group, and because these are very short slides, can I go through them and then I will come back to your question, so that I don't see any questions in the chat. If there are, I will just go through these slides because I think they might be useful in regard to the mentality. I'm focusing more on the issues that you need to recognize for the social entrepreneurs.
Irina, Elena, there are some comments that they would like to ask you to share your practical experiences, how you work with social enterprises, and please show it in your examples you have met in your work, because there is also some question that how it is in your practical way. So please share your examples. I think.
Okay, let me then skip this and go to our practices. So this is the programs we provide for the for everyone else. So these are the pre-acceleration programs, acceleration.
Ке може македонски и ренче.
Како? На македонски да се вратам? Окей.
Па, тите сме скоро македонци.
Добро.
Could you please speak in Macedonian? Most of us are in Macedonians, and there is interpretation into English. So pre-accelerate programs for those who are just starting with an idea, acceleration programs that already have some kind of market investment readiness programs for those who want to go further towards sustainability upshift programs. These are social programs for young people, for elementary and high school students, programs for social enterprises and design thinking or corporative innovation. Furthermore, we organize them in business clubs because we believe the networking is very important. Seed Business Club, Seed Club for Women. Furthermore, in regard to the services that we provide, the individual advisory services, mentoring. We have a network of mentors that are available to them. Networking these are the key element to connect all of them. We have a workspace, ocean system of offices, and pop-up promotion events, either organized by us or by clients, regardless, but events at which we all gather. I will stop here with my presentation. You will get it anyway. I just want to check the comments.
It's about, why people invest in the social enterprises, or investors. What do they expect to be in return? So how to build venture capital? Maybe also Teresa could participate in this discussion.
I'm sorry, I will go back to Macedonian. You know that we have a club of business angels consisting of individuals, natural persons who decided to invest their money in social enterprises instead of keeping them in the banks and investing them. They want to have a return to their money, and they invest them in startups. When we develop a program to help the startups to get investments, we always have in mind the social enterprises. But in order to achieve the mission of the social enterprise, they have to go through all these phases of the traditional enterprises that are identical with the other startups, so that later on they can compete on the market with their competitors. Here the rule is even more difficult because there are no incentives. So what do? We test the business model, whether it's functional, whether it's feasible. Then we do a market survey, market research. Then I cannot say the best, but some of the best consultants are available. From the aspect of mentality, we try to expand their mental setup for them to be entrepreneurs in general, not just social entrepreneurs. And then we provide them with individual sessions that are a little bit more numerous than for the regular startups, because they follow the KPIs, the key performance indicators, because the social, based on experience, this based on your questions, usually the indicators are seen, the indicators that are requested by their donors are different from the about how a business would function. I don't know whether you understand me. For example, if I say how many of the beneficiaries of the service became paying clients, there might be 100 beneficiaries of service, but not all of them pay for it. That's typical for regular businesses, but for the social enterprises, they do not take always this into consideration. So the first thing we use are the KPI.
You did mention the business angels. Is there a practical example where somebody actually invested some money for metalworking a small factory, etc., and whether they have been successful, whether they have made profit in 2 or 3 years. We would like to hear about these kinds of practical examples, because we are no longer interested in only theory. This is a market economy. We are trying to achieve the capitalist goals. So please tell us if there are specific examples where people have invested in this kind of projects and they have made some money. Very well.
I'm sorry, Nebe and Elena, sorry. Irina can't wait to share nice, successful, interesting, inspiring stories about social entrepreneurship, including maybe some investment successes as well, maybe not. But yeah, just a little bit behind the schedule, maybe. And do you mind if we shall give the floor to Irina now? And then if there is some time, Elena will find some examples of successful social impact entrepreneurship investments to share with you later.
It's not question sharing with me, because we are here to hear practical example.
Yes.
Because thinking about theories, I can do it a lot of, again, presentation. But let's do it small things, 1, 2, 3, practical. We are 20 people exchanging, multiplied by 3. That means we could have 60 or 90 examples. And just maybe we will see in our regions how to implement those, not to invent new things. Sorry.
Okay.
I agree.
Не е нещо, што јас туку негде сум го прочитал.
The social entrepreneurs first of all is to change their mindset and to work on their mindset. That's why I'm, talking over and over to this, and other things are easier to implement.
Nothing said about you. Sorry.
No, only one sentence. I am at your disposal to talk about this. Of course, there are examples of where investment took place. Imam organizing negotiation, multi-practic, etc., etc. But I am very willing to share these experiences. But I'm engaged by the project, and we can even have a separate session on this, according to your need. I mean, I'm available.
Sure. Elena, I wanted to help you and also provide an answer to Nebe. I have just shared with you a website of a social enterprise from Lithuania. We have received €500,000 investment. The business model is very, simple, but strange. They recruit elderly women, unemployed women to knit sweaters. But they provide designs and the knitwear, the stuff, the wool. So it's interesting that they sell the sweaters to Japan, United Kingdom, Germany, United States, because it's much more expensive to knit in those countries. And every owner, every customer, when he receives the sweater, he knows that the sweater was made by the specific individual lady from a village somewhere in Lithuania. And we got €500,000, €500,000 to expand the model, invest into marketing, recruit more women, recruit more designers, and boost their sales. So that's just one of the examples. But Nebe, we shall come with more examples later on as well during our project. And also, I would really like now to stop the discussion and the presentation of Elena if she has finished, and invite Irina to talk to us.
Thank you, Mindaugas. And thank you, Nebe, for bringing up these important practical dimensions of stuff, because I'm also on the same side.